Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real World Blockchain Podcast, where we help people understand how the blockchain industry and cryptocurrencies and AI can help them fuel their businesses for the best future possible. Hi, Zoe. You're my partner in crime today.
Glad to be here, Gautier, as always.
All right, so today is a very special event. We have the International Women's Day, and of course, I would be in a very bad position to comment on that myself. So what's your take on that as a woman in the Web3 industry? How has been your experience so far about this very specific world, this really strange planet compared to all the other fields in tech and business?
Sure, I mean, that's a great question. So I see a lot of open source enthusiasts in the Web3 space, and that's kind of how I got my start in leadership in general. I started getting active in open source organizations, volunteering, leadership roles, and then I kind of took that to entrepreneurship because when you know how to navigate the complexity of those ecosystems, then the world is your oyster because you're not tied into using specific vendors, for example, like a lot of enterprise tech. And you can essentially do more customized, creative things with it and also meet a lot of very innovative people who think in the same way
So I
or
tr-
similarly.
so I take you have been already familiar with decentralization inherent to Web3 before because you were already an open source enthusiast. You had been you had been such a person for a long time, right?
Yeah. And you see a lot of intersection in terms of the enthusiasts from specifically open source security to the Web3 space for that reason. And you just, when you're around like minded individuals, a lot of, there's a lot of opportunity, especially, when you're kind of behind your computer, just doing well at what you're doing well at, which is very objective in a lovely way, then you really nothing gets in your way of the shared passion and collaboration.
Wonderful. And we were talking about International Women's Day, but there are many other symbolic days talking about inequalities and inclusivity. And my personal take on that is that I love decentralization and what is brought by Web3 and other pieces of tech, revolving around this industry because it allows many solopreneurs, to circumvent the pitfalls of having a decentralized system, a centralized system with all its biases. Do you think yourself that this is something helpful for women or for other, it could be even minorities? Do you think this is a good way of circumventing inequalities to have basically the ability to, draw your own path without having to follow rules imposed by the state or by the heavy hitters who are already in place in this industry?
Oh yeah, certainly. Both from an entrepreneur's perspective and also from a user or investor or learner perspective. So, for example, a lot of traditional financial education is very closed, both because of costs or because of barrier access to other sorts of knowledge or context. For example, you could go to a lecture on very theory heavy economics, but it wouldn't necessarily resonate to someone who's not from a background where they have money to go invest. But it's easier to get actual experience learning, which is more applied and more practical in the Web3 space. And, especially with innovative curricula being developed for that specifically by the blockchain ecosystems, by certain communities such as ShiFi, which I highly recommend.
What is ShiFi?
So ShiFi is a diversity and women's focused educational platform and community for Web3 specifically. So it's just, one of those organizations that you can tell is super well thought out in terms of its strategy in reaching people and building economic opportunity and diversity because people who might not otherwise access such education get access because of how these ecosystems operate and are built based on inclusivity. Because I've definitely seen other people from, whether it be gender or racial minority or another um, underserved population in the economic space. I've seen them, get scholarships to university, get through all the coursework from, a finance degree, but because they're not kind of part of it at the end of the day,
Ah,
part of the culture, then they don't get those jobs. They don't even get the internships necessarily to, starting out. And that's just not a culture that I ever wanted to be part of.
okay.
And
So
I
these
want to
persons
build
were.
something that, builds that out so that we get the brightest minds, we get the most passionate people, and we really build upon the opportunity for diversity and inclusion.
So basically, in a centralized scholarship system, if I get you right, what you're saying is that in the end, you might get the scholarship, but the the whole zeitgeist, the whole social background will tell you, you're still not part of this background, and it shows. Is it that?
Right, and they still get that, get that kind of say for
Oh,
no reason other than they don't like you, they don't feel like you're like them. And it's not because of competency, it's not because of intelligence, it's just because, the whole concept of birds of a feather. And
mm.
having that prevent people from getting what they've worked for, what they've earned, what they deserve is really devastating.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad to be part of something that counters that type of culture.
That's kind of sad indeed, and it doesn't really surprise me in a way because we know in management and in all the studies conducted in the field of HR that most of your career is not managed through your actual skills. It's managed. You get to higher positions not because you are super skilled. Sometimes yes, but most of the time because you have a social network and social skills. But the network counts as much as the skills. So that's quite disruptive. Then and in terms of scholarships, for example, or for community voting, people voting for great projects independently of the of where the project bearer comes from. Do you think that that's something that could be a trend we should wish for in the future? To have more of these things, just like as we have in the community grants. We're doing that at Moon, and we're doing many community grants, trying to get that every month. But do you think that should be something that should be generalized outside of the techie world of Web three, about social issues, for example? Do you think that's something that could help the voiceless have a voice?
Yeah, certainly. I think, any sort of grassroots campaign or organization could really help build that for various industries, various types of projects or
Mm.
initiatives, and various causes. And I've seen groups work to do that. But the one thing is that where I've seen that for, education and kind of ongoing mentorship, it's still not within an organization. And one could view that as, more of a sustainable opportunity because one's job might change. Um, Corporate layoffs might be taking place such that, at the end of the day, your external network of mentors are the most sustainable part of building your career. But um, but kind of having it streamlined and not having it completely separated from the culture of where you'll actually be working and where your day-to-day environment will be, that's an opportunity that I see pretty unique to these Web3 spaces and these ecosystems, because that is also directly how the organizations get funding, how companies continue to build upon themselves. So it's not external. So I'm just really, really excited about the opportunity that that continues to bring for myself and the team and a lot of our colleagues.
That's wonderful. And regarding the Web three in general, now that you've been here for quite a long time, what's your feeling about this industry in general in terms of human beings. Sometimes people can say, "Oh, what you will find in common with all the people who are working, for example, I don't know, in the nuclear power plant industry. These people are always going to be nearly autistic and paranoid in terms of safety because the mistakes are so punishing that you have to have that mindset. When you're working with people in the film industry, well, you will find a touch of vanity among all the members. So, did you find an invariant, something that, oh, that's a blockchain bro or a blockchain girl? We have found one.
Hmm. Well, I think it depends on the role because there are
Okay.
so many roles within um, any blockchain project. But I think there's generally been um, kind of a lean toward openness and diversity. And a lot of people wear a lot of different hats. So it depends on what hats they're wearing at a given moment when it comes to the really young startups. So there definitely is the appreciation for trial and error, learning fast, failing fast, learning fast. And so that's appreciated as with other early stage startups. But as far as, something like security or tech, the thoroughness is obviously a focus. And, I've been working with a lot of smart people who are able to quickly shift between the two.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, indeed. That reminds me that this is what I love about the Web3 industry in general is that you can go to a convention and see people from so many different backgrounds and hear them talk about where they come from, and there are so many paths leading there that you can find really a bunch of interesting characters, and that's what I found lovely about it. All right, and we're out in the proper mindset this week because Bitcoin has reached a another all-time high against dollar and against euro both. So I suppose we should be happy for this industry again. Um, and I would like to ask you, what do you think about the use of these cryptocurrencies for all round purposes, not outside, not only in finance, but also for humanitarian projects, because that's kind of the topics we're talking about this week. What do you think about uh, people saying, well, when we reach these all time highs, this is exactly when we should fund great projects on the humanitarian perspective, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. I mean, they're at a high for a reason, for a good reason, and they certainly should continue to be used for funding innovative, disruptive things that are needed to build upon our society. It definitely now is our time, and yeah, I mean, I know that we're really jumping on those opportunities, which is exciting, and yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a great time. Such a peak is a great time, a promising time, and
Great. Are there projects that inspire you?
well, I mean, our partners thus far, um, really anyone looking to build crypto adoption and simplify the use of it, both for individual users and also for enterprise users, and being able to streamline it with existing processes to do the same. So, that's really what we at Web3 Enabler are doing by bringing it to CRMs, ERPs, etc. So, being able to do that, partnering with ecosystems who share those values, such as Ripple, and just building global payments opportunities, partnership by partnership.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Zoe. I was very happy to have you as my main guest today because we often appear together as, smooth talkers, talking about many things that happen in the blockchain world, but I never had the opportunity to hear a bit about you as a human being. So thank you so much for this interview today and this cool podcast. Any
Thank
last
you.
word?
No, no, just excited for more to come.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. This was Real World Blockchain, the podcast that helps you fuel your business with creative ideas and new innovations, payment solutions, AI, whatever it is. This was Zoe Braderman, my partner in crime, that you can hear every Friday or Monday in Real World Blockchain. I am Gauthier Lamotte, your host. Please follow us on Twitter, YouTube, Discord, and every other platform. Cheers, everyone. Bye, Zoe.